I'm looking up at her with my head up off the table, and I'm telling her I was really excited about, because I'd been seeking answers since my experience in Hawaii in 1982. What happened to me? I just needed to understand how could that happen? And so over the decades, I started seeking more overtly and putting my story out there. And this lady found one of my videos and got in touch with me. Her name was Lilia, and she asked me if I'd ever heard of Saint Germain, and I had not. And so she introduced me to the Saint Germain Foundation and their readings, and I started reading books. And I came to a passage that perfectly described what happened when I was in the light, and I was taken to what I decades later learned from these books is called the throne room of infinite life, where the sacred fire of God's immortal love is unfolding in that liquid lotus flower you hear about. I saw it, and it's spreading light out into all directions, with immense happiness, joy, love, unconditional love. It was so overwhelming. So I knew what I was looking for over the decades that I'd been seeking, but I didn't know what it was going to look like but I knew when I found it, I would recognize it, because I knew the standard, because I was there. So I knew exactly what I needed, but I hadn't found it yet in writing or anywhere else. And then as I'm reading these books and I found that passage, I'm now telling Rosalind about it. And I'm on the massage table and I'm really excited about it. And I said, Rosalind, it called the light exactly what I had saw and experienced it after decades of seeking in one sentence. I'd never seen this written before. And it called it the liquid, molten, golden, white, living light. And the instant I said the word light, this massive expansion of energy from within inside of me exploded. And all I could do is drop my head on the table and cry, and I couldn't move, think, or act. It went on for many seconds, which is a long time. And then when it finished, I wiped my eyes off and I looked up at Rosalind, and she's shocked. I could see the look on her face, and she's staring down at me, and her eyes are wide open, and her face is just profusely wet from crying too. And I said, did you feel that? And she goes, uh-huh. And Noah did too. Right? So then many months later, a year or so later, or something like that, I can't remember, I found this particular passage that perfectly described what happened to us. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, when we come to charge you with more of the power and victory of the sacred fire. Therefore, you will be enfolded in more of that sacred fire from our octave. At the same time, your own mighty I Am presence will expand more of its sacred fire through you to bring you permanent illumination, inner and outer. When I say inner and outer, I mean not only your mental and feeling world, but the actual flesh structure of your bodies and the atmosphere about you. These things have to be accomplished gradually, because in your present vibratory action of the outer world, you could not stand the sudden charge of all the power of the sacred fire that is around our ascended master bodies. We were visited by an ascended master. I believe it was Jesus, because he's the Prince of Peace, and that was the primary essence that I felt. Felt a lot of things, but the peace was the primary one then. Whereas when I was in the decades earlier in the light, it was unconditional love was the primary. So there was definitely a different message sent to me that day, and who it was from, and that was Jesus. And Jesus and Saint Germain are best friends, and they're up there working their tails off to help us get back home. And that's what's going on.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
I too would like to encounter more of what Saint Germain has to offer us. I see that there's online some resources. When was Saint Germain around?
Now, there's only one resource that is sanctioned by the Saint Germain Foundation. There's other out there. So I highly tell people just get the information from one place. stgermainpress.com. And Germain is spelled Germain. So it's stgermainpress, all spelled out, .com.
Okay.
And then go to the series section to get the books. So St. Germain series, you'll find them. And but there's another organization out there that took this information and they call themselves more progressive. So the St. Germain Foundation are not connected with them, and they don't want to be. So I just want to be clear about that. So St. Germain Foundation.org is the foundation's website, and stgermainpress.com is where you get the books. But you can learn a lot on both websites. And so I've been practicing these principles, and the books say in the beginning that if you give them a chance, give these principles a chance and practice them, that in time they will prove themselves to you. That's exactly what they did. And I showed you proof that happened. So that was like, let me read what happened with Rosalind and myself so I can find up her email, her text messages here. July of 2020, I said this to Rosalind in a text message because I was asking her to send me back that picture that I'd sent her of that information I just read earlier. I said, "Hi, Rosalind, do you remember that picture of a page of information I texted to you a long while back describing what happened to me, you, and Noah when the infinite power of divine peace blasted through all three of us the last time I got a massage from you?" I mean, how more specific can I be, right? I've somehow lost it in my phone, and I'm hoping you can send it to me again. Please let me know if you're able to do that for me so I can find it elsewhere if necessary. Hope you're doing fine, my eternal friend in the light. God bless you and your entire family. So that was July. She didn't answer back. And then in November of 2020, a few months later, I found it and I sent it to her. I don't know if you can see that on there. Right. So you can see where I said I found it at the bottom, and at the top, she puts a little heart emoji on it. Right. And then she comes back and says, "I love this. And it's so relevant for me now." And then I write back and say, "Me too. It's a deep comfort knowing we are watched over, and in the end, everything and everyone will be raised into that state of perfect peace we each had blessed through us 3 years ago." I mean, that moment we experienced is seared into my consciousness forever now. I'm pretty sure it did that same thing to you too. God bless you, Rosalind, and your family. And she answers back and says, God bless to you and your family as well, Tony. I'm grateful to know you." Heart, hand prayer thing, and heart emoji. And so she's validating that happened to her. She's not saying, "Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you need to go see a psychiatric doctor or something, or just leave me alone, go away." No, she didn't do any of that. She's validating that happened. God's very real, and God will act in your life.
Yeah.
But we have to ask. We don't ask, we don't receive. So I've been asking a lot. That doesn't mean you're not going to have a challenging life anyway. There's things that we are called upon to do, I think, for the purpose of bringing love lessons. And so if God chooses me to be an instrument of someone else's love lessons, then I'm blessed for it, no matter what I have to go through to be a part of it.
That is very well said, Tony.